All right, let's just jump right into this. I want you to imagine the sheer, exhilarating improbability of this scenario. A tiny Caribbean island is about to step onto the pitch at the 2026 World Cup, literally rubbing shoulders with the undisputed giants of global football. There's really no way around it. This is historic. In this explainer, we're unpacking the incredible story of the Blue Wave, the Curaçao national football team. We're going to look at the data, the tactics, and the absolutely wild sequence of events that brought this massive underdog to the biggest stage in all of sports.
To really wrap your head around the magnitude of what this team has pulled off, you have to look at their population. 156,000. That's it. We're not talking about a sprawling nation with millions of youth players to cherry pick from. No, this is a staggeringly small talent pool. 156,000 people is roughly the size of a single mid-sized suburb in the US. And yet, this island nation has somehow built a squad capable of going toe-to-toe with countries hundreds of times their size.
And geographically, the reality is just as crazy. 443 square kilometers. That is the total land area of Curaçao, tucked right down there off the northern coast of Venezuela. It's an island you could literally drive across before lunch. Their arrival on the global stage is totally unprecedented. It defies, well, pretty much every traditional metric we use to predict who succeeds in international football.
So history has genuinely been made here. You guys probably remember back in 2018 when Iceland completely captivated the world by qualifying for the World Cup in Russia, right? They held the record for the smallest nation to ever reach the tournament with a population of around 350,000. Well, Curaçao just smashed that record to pieces. By both population and land area, they are now officially the smallest nation to ever qualify for a FIFA World Cup. Period.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how? How exactly does an island this small build a World Cup caliber squad that rockets up to 82nd in the FIFA World Rankings? Well, the secret lies in their very unique cultural and institutional history. Because Curaçao is a self-governing entity within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, they've been able to leverage what we'll call a Dutch Caribbean pipeline. And that pipeline has entirely transformed their national program.
The real game changer here comes down to the rules of international football. Under FIFA's eligibility rules, talented players of Curaçaoan heritage who were born or raised in the Netherlands, guys who even came up through elite Dutch youth academies, can actually switch their senior international allegiance to play for Curaçao. It's this brilliant blend of their Caribbean roots with top-tier Dutch football training. Almost overnight, it injected the squad with seasoned pros playing in the Dutch Eredivisie and the English Championship.
And the results of tapping into that pipeline? Absolutely devastating in the CONCACAF qualifiers. Get this, 10 matches played, 7 wins, 3 draws, and 0 losses. Undefeated. They were an unstoppable force. And the crown jewel of that run was a monumental 2-0 away victory against Jamaica. Jamaica is a perennial powerhouse in the region, so going into their backyard and beating them, that was the ultimate statement. The Blue Wave was officially ready for the world.
Now, you'd think an undefeated qualification campaign would mean smooth sailing behind the scenes, wouldn't you? Yeah, not quite. As the tournament crept closer, some wild off-field drama genuinely threatened to derail everything they had built. Right at the center of this storm was their manager, the legendary Dutch coach Dick Advocaat, affectionately known by football fans everywhere as the Little General.
Just a few months before the World Cup, the situation basically dissolved into absolute chaos. Let's trace it back. In February 2026, Advocaat shockingly resigns to prioritize his family's health. Completely understandable, but terrible timing. So the Federation brings in Fred Rutten. But under Rutten, the team totally loses its shape, suffering ugly 5-1 and 2-0 defeats in their friendlies. It was looking grim. By May, realizing things weren't working, Rutten steps down. And then, in a crazy, heartwarming twist just weeks before the tournament, Advocaat officially returns to finish what he started.
And by stepping back onto that touchline, Advocaat is making some history of his own. At 78 years old, the Little General officially becomes the oldest head coach ever to manage at a World Cup finals. Think about that. He brings this immense, intimidating resume, having won the UEFA Cup and managed national teams all over the globe. He is exactly the kind of seasoned, battle-tested leader a debutante nation desperately needs if they want to survive the absolute pressure cooker that is the World Cup.
But look, inspiration and a legendary coach are great, but they aren't going to win matches on their own. How does a massive underdog actually survive on the pitch against the world's elite? Basically, they need a slingshot to take down the Goliaths. And Advocaat is famous for being incredibly pragmatic. He knows exactly the kind of tactical setup you need as a smaller nation to frustrate teams that are, frankly, technically superior.
Here's the blueprint.
Advocaat uses what's affectionately called the Christmas tree formation, a 4-3-2-1. It is a highly disciplined, super compact setup. By keeping 4 defenders and 3 central midfielders sitting deep, they effectively choke off the center of the pitch. It completely denies the opposition those easy passing lanes, forces them out wide, and deeply frustrates teams that just want to hold onto the ball all day.
So this entire system rests on 3 core pillars. First, you've got that compact defensive block to limit space. We just talked about that. Second, rapid counterattack speed. The second they win the ball back, those 2 narrow attacking midfielders are unleashed to sprint right behind the opposition's high line. And third, set pieces. When you're the underdog, dead ball situations, your corners and your free kicks, those are absolutely crucial. That's your best opportunity to level the playing field and steal a goal.
To actually pull this off, Advocaat is relying on a really vital spine of players with serious European pedigree. You've got the captain, Leandro Bacuna, who brings nearly 100 games of English Premier League experience and acts as their lethal set-piece taker. Then there's Tahith Chong, the Manchester United Academy grad, providing that raw counter-attacking pace. At the back, PSV Eindhoven's Armando Obispo anchors the defense, and up top, Sontje Hansen brings this dynamic creativity forged right in the famed Ajax Academy.
And let me tell you, they're going to need every single ounce of that experience, because the reality of their World Cup draw, it is incredibly daunting. Welcome to Group E. This isn't just David versus Goliath. This is David versus an entire squad of Goliaths. When you break down the group stage lineup, it really slams home the massive gap in quality here. You've got 4-time World Cup winners Germany, sitting pretty at 10th in the world. You've got a wildly physical, technically gifted Ecuador at 23rd. And you've got a proud African powerhouse in Ivory Coast at 34th. And then there's Curaçao, the historic debutants, ranked 82nd. Overcoming a gap like that, it's an almost impossible ask. But here's where the math of the 2026 World Cup changes the equation entirely. Because the tournament expanded to 48 teams this time around, a new lifeline exists. Curaçao doesn't actually need to win Group E to advance. Yes, the top 2 teams go through, but so do the 8 best third-place teams across all the groups. This means survival is a mathematical possibility, even if they don't manage to win a single game.
That mathematical lifeline creates a very realistic, step-by-step survival plan for Curaçao. Step 1. Survive the opener against Germany down in Houston. Just keep that goal difference as low as humanly possible. Step 2. Fight tooth and nail for a gritty draw against Ecuador in Kansas City. And Step 3. Target a result against Ivory Coast up in Philly. If they can grab just a point or 2, combined with a really tight defensive record, that could genuinely be enough to sneak them right through to the knockout stages.
But you know, behind all the tactical breakdowns, the math, and the world rankings, this is just a deeply human story. Dick Advocaat himself, a guy who's won European trophies and managed at the absolute pinnacle of the sport, I think he put it best. He said, "I consider the qualification of the smallest FIFA country in the world for the World Cup as one of the highlights of my career." That quote just perfectly grounds all these crazy statistics in deep emotional significance. At the end of the day, it's about pure pride.
156,000 Islanders are going to be holding their breath as their team walks out against Germany. They've already made history simply by showing up. They've got the pedigree in their squad, they've got a legendary coach on the sidelines, and they've got a tactical system purpose-built to frustrate the giants of the game. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Against all mathematical and historical odds, can the smallest nation in World Cup history manage to make the biggest splash? Man, we cannot wait to find out.